Hello and welcome to a video on preparing your computer for ePrime research. This video is going to give you a general overview of some possible considerations of computer-based psychology research that you might want to take into account. And some things in this video will be very relevant to your research, while others might not apply to you at all. We recommend that you talk to your principal investigator for details on what would be best for you. I also want to mention that this video is only going to address aspects of research that are directly relevant to your computer's software or hardware. So I'm not going to be covering things such as controlling for outside noises or keeping light levels the same. For an overview of those kind of considerations, please see our ePrime 2.0 User's Guide, which is available within eStudio from the Help Documentation menu. Now, if I could give you just one tip about preparing your computer for research, it would be to shut down any background applications that are running. And by that I mean your antivirus program and any programs that may start up when you turn your computer on. For example, in the lower right corner here, you'll see that I have the Link chat client as well as an antivirus program running right here. So a quick way to disable these things is to just simply right-click on their icons there. So if I right-click on the chat client and I click exit, you can see that it's gone from here. And that means that there's no chance of an IM coming in and popping up during your experiment. Now, antivirus programs are a little bit different because most network administrators have it set up so that you can't completely shut off your antivirus program. If this becomes an issue for you, you might want to talk to your network administrators to see if you can get a computer that has that antivirus program removed or shut down. But if you need to shut it down on a temporary basis, most antivirus programs will allow you to right-click on the icon here and disable it for some time. So in this case, I'd want to disable both the antivirus and anti-spyware protection, and it will give me a message saying, yes, are you sure you want to do this? You'll see a little pop-up there perhaps, but then after that, it shouldn't interfere with your experiment anymore. It's worth noting that ePrime is capable of running experiments without a network connection at all, so that may alleviate some concerns you may have about disabling your antivirus program. In general, we recommend, just to be safe, that you disconnect your computer from the network anyway. And also, if you have any printers attached, you might want to disconnect those. Basically, try and keep things as simple as possible with your computer setup. There are a few other ways to shut down programs besides the one that I just showed you there. An easy one is to go to Start and then All Programs, and in basically every Windows operating system, Windows 7 and earlier, you'll see that there's this Startup folder, and you can check in there to see if there's any programs listed. If so, you can just right-click on them to delete, and right now this is completely empty for me, so that's good. Perhaps the most powerful way to stop programs from starting up is to use the msconfig tool in Windows. To find that, simply go to the search and type in msconfig. And here you'll see this startup selection screen. Right now it's set to normal startup, and that's fine. And we recommend that when you're getting your computer ready, you might want to even try the diagnostic startup. That will load the most basic things that your computer needs to operate. However, it may interfere with movie or sound playback, so you definitely want to test your experiment after setting up your computer in the diagnostic mode. So assuming we keep the normal startup here, if you go to this Startup tab, you'll see a list of all of the programs on your computer that could possibly start up. Some of these are completely necessary, such as your video drivers, so you wouldn't want to go and uncheck something if you didn't know what it was, but there are some things that are safe to uncheck here. For example, even if you want to use Microsoft Office at some point in the future, it doesn't need to be constantly running in the background, so you can uncheck that. Same thing with GoToMeeting and QuickTime, Apple, all of these kind of things that don't need to be running during your experiment, you'd want to uncheck. Here's that Microsoft link that I had right-clicked on earlier. And once all of these are checked, you can just press OK. Next time you start up, you're going to see that those programs haven't started up. In this particular case, I don't want to show this message again that you're going to need to restart your computer to apply those changes, so I'm just going to check that box. And for now I'm going to exit without restart, but later on I'm going to restart the computer. You'll also want to make sure that you use the same operating system and hardware across all of the data collection computers in your experiment. When you're first establishing what you should use, it's a good idea to check our ePrime 2.0 requirements page here. I got here by going to our website, www.pstnet.com, and then I hovered over Products, Software, ePrime. And in the Requirements tab, you'll see that the latest version of ePrime 2.0, which is ePrime 2.0 Service Pack 1, is compatible with PCs running Windows XP, Vista, 7, and 8. And we also have some hardware requirements here that's for the latest version. If you're not sure if you meet these requirements, please send more information about your computer either to your IT staff or to us in a support request by emailing support@pstnet.com. Now, it's important to note that some of this operating system compatibility is dependent on the version of ePrime 2.0 that you're using. And you would want to consult the support ePrime knowledge base here. And you'd want to look at the operating system article to find out which version of ePrime 2.0 would be best for whichever operating system you're using. So you can see that broken down in a table here. Now, you may wonder how to tell which ePrime 2.0 version you're using now. And the first way to look at that is when you open up eStudio, you'll see that the ePrime 2.0 version will show up on what we call the splash screen. So you'll see that here in just a moment. You can see I'm using the latest version of ePrime 2.0, and you can see it right here, ePrime 2.0 Service Pack 1. But, of course, that went by pretty quickly, so if you need to look at it again, you can go here to Help, About eStudio, and you'll see it listed at the very top of the About eStudio box here. And then you can compare that number to the number listed on the knowledge base on our website and the operating system that you have. Now, let's say you want to get more information about the actual operating system that you're using. I'm going to close this and bring you to the Windows Control Panel. So I got that by going to Start and then Control Panel right here. And the first thing you want to do to learn more about your system is click in Windows 7 here on the System button. Here you'll see that I'm using Windows 7 and I'm using a 64-bit operating system, so that's something you can use to compare with our little table there. And there are a few other things that you can use the control panel for. So I'm going to go back there, and I like to change it so that there's large icons here, so that's how I'm going to do that. First I'm going to look at the sound settings here. You can see that there are speakers and a microphone on this computer, so you'd want to make sure that both of these are working. You can see as I'm speaking right here, it's showing up. And that's a good way to test your microphone and any speakers that you're using. If you're doing any kind of port communication or you need to change some settings about hardware that you're connecting to your computer, you can scroll up here to the Device Manager. You can access that right here in Control Panel. I also just want to show you real quick that the latest version of ePrime 2.0 allows you to open it from within eStudio. So if you go to Tools, you'll see the Sound Control Panel, Windows Device Manager, and also the Joystick Control Panel, all of which are normally available in the Control Panel are available right here. You can also change your screen resolution from inside the Control Panel here, but I just want to show you the most common way to access it, which is to right-click on the computer desktop and open up screen resolution here. This will affect how images appear on the screen in your experiment, so you want all of your monitors to be using the same screen resolution. You can adjust it right here, and then once you know this number, you can also put it in the display object within eStudio. Besides these things, there's a couple other hardware settings you want to take a look at that I can't show you through the video here. First of all, you want to make sure you have the same monitor on all of the different computers. So you wouldn't want to have some computers have an LCD monitor and other computers have a CRT monitor because they each have different timing characteristics. And even beyond that, you want to make sure that all of them have the same brightness settings, and you would adjust that using buttons on the outside of your monitor. And if you're unsure how to do that, just try searching online for your monitor's make and model, and you should find more instructions on that. And finally, while you're setting things up, you want to make sure that the sound levels are all the same. You can adjust that right here in the lower right corner by using this slider right here. After all this set up, you want to run through your experiment pretty quickly to make sure everything is running as expected. So you can run your experiment by double-clicking on the EBS2 here. That doesn't require the key. And if you want to have a shortcut on your desktop, what you could do is right-click on that file, go to Send to Desktop, and there it'll be for the researcher to get the experiment started there. You'll also want to make sure that all of the sound levels are recording and playing. You might want to use some external equipment to validate that all of it is at the same level, whatever your experiment paradigm dictates. And finally, when you run through your experiment, you want to then open up the E.2 file to make sure that you're really collecting all of the data that you expected, because you definitely want to know that your experiment is configured properly before you go and collect all your data. And if you run through this several times, you will be able to find any kind of errors or problems in the experiment. And if you have any questions about that, or questions about this video, or suggestions for future videos, please send any of that to our web support site at support.pstnet.com or by emailing us at support@pstnet.com. Thanks.